He had built everything from the ground up, his business, his reputation, his future. But in one brutal moment, it was all ripped away, not by bad luck, but by a system that saw him as a threat the moment he succeeded. Now, broke and driving lonely highways to survive, he spots a stranger in the rain, a choice to stop that will uncover a truth more dangerous than he's ever faced. Because what she carries could destroy the very man who destroyed him. And the question is, will they make it that far? Jordan Miles had once been the kind of man people admired. A young black entrepreneur with a sharp mind and a vision big enough to shake up an entire industry. He built his tech company from nothing, late nights, empty bank accounts, endless persistence. For a moment, it seemed the world was finally ready to see him win. Investors called him a genius. Headlines praised his rise. But then, without warning, the ground crumbled beneath him. Contracts vanished. Rumors spread. Government inspectors showed up with anonymous tips that bled his company dry. One by one, doors slammed shut. And in a matter of months, the man who'd been a rising star was sleeping in his car, driving delivery routes to keep food in his stomach. On a cold, wet night, headlights sliced through the rain as Jordan guided his dented sedan down an empty highway. He wasn't looking for trouble, just another job, another mile, another day of survival. Then, through the downpour, he saw her, alone on the roadside, clutching a backpack like it was her only lifeline. Stopping for her would seem like nothing more than a small act of kindness. But this moment, this choice, was the first step toward uncovering the truth behind the man who had taken everything from him. The rain had thinned to a mist, but the air inside the car was thick with unspoken tension. Jordan kept his eyes on the road, glancing at the stranger beside him. She hadn't said much, just her name, Sophie, and that she needed to get to the next town. But her hands told a different story, trembling as they clutched her backpack. Jordan knew fear when he saw it. He'd felt it himself. Those moments when you realize someone has decided you don't belong where you are. It had happened in boardrooms, where investors questioned his fit for leadership. In restaurants, where waiters pretended not to see him. And worst of all, in the quiet moments of his career's collapse, when people looked at him not as a man wronged, but as a black businessman who must have done something to deserve it. They passed a gas station, its neon lights flickering. Sophie asked him to stop. Inside, the cashier's eyes followed Jordan as he walked the aisles. His presence met with the kind of stiff, silent suspicion that felt heavier than words. When he returned to the car, Sophie's shoulders were even tenser. Back on the road, headlights appeared in the mirror, bright, close, and unrelenting. At first, Jordan thought it was just another driver, but every turn he took, they followed. Sophie's breathing quickened. She told him to take a side road. They pulled into a deserted lot, the trailing car slowing before disappearing into the dark. That's when Sophie spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. She wasn't just running from home. She was running from her father, Edward Lancaster, billionaire, ruthless, and the man responsible for tearing Jordan's company apart. From her bag, Sophie pulled a small flash drive. Inside, she said, was proof, emails, bank transfers, recordings, evidence that her father had built his empire by destroying people like Jordan, people who posed a threat simply because they dared to succeed. Jordan's pulse thundered in his ears. Everything he'd lost, his company, his name, his future, had been stolen by the man this young woman was risking her life to expose. But the danger wasn't in the past. Sophie told him her father's men were tracking her, willing to do whatever it took to silence her. And now, by helping her, Jordan had just stepped into their crosshairs. Somewhere in the distance, a car engine echoed through the night. Neither of them knew if it was friend or foe. But Jordan understood one thing with bone-deep certainty. Walking away was no longer an option. Jordan sat in the dimly lit conference room, his pulse hammering as the clock ticked down. Sophie sat across from him, pale but resolute, the flash drive clutched in her hand like a lifeline. Ivy Chen's laptop screen glowed, data spilling across it, emails, contracts, bank statements, each file another nail in Edward Lancaster's empire. Then, heavy footsteps echoed in the hall. Clara's head snapped toward the door. They weren't expecting anyone. The handle turned. Two men in dark suits stepped in, their presence radiating quiet threat. "This is private property," Clara said, her voice steady. They ignored her, their eyes fixed on Sophie. Jordan rose, every muscle tense. He'd seen this before, the silent intimidation, the unspoken warning meant to make you back down. The same tactics that had driven him from boardrooms and shuttered his company. Only this time, he wasn't alone, and he wasn't leaving. "Give us the drive," one man said flatly. Sophie's grip tightened. Jordan stepped between them. In that split second, he knew the risk. He was a black man blocking two powerful white enforcers, and in their eyes, that made him dangerous. One wrong move and the headlines would paint him as the aggressor. The men took a step forward. Jordan didn't move. His mind replayed every moment he'd been told to stay in his place. Every time success had been treated as defiance. Not this time. Behind him, Ivy hit a key. The evidence streamed to every major news outlet in the country. A digital flood impossible to stop. One of the men lunged, but Clara's voice cut through the tension. "It's already out." A beat of silence. The men froze. Somewhere outside, sirens wailed. Jordan exhaled, his chest tight, not with fear, but with the weight of a battle that might finally turn. By nightfall, Edward Lancaster's arrest was breaking news across every major network. The evidence Sophie carried had done more than dismantle a billionaire's empire. It had exposed a pattern, a calculated system designed to crush those who dared to rise, especially when their success challenged the faces the powerful wanted at the top. For Jordan, the victory was bittersweet. Clearing his name couldn't return the years stolen from him. The sleepless nights, the friends who vanished when the lies spread, the quiet humiliation of being treated like a criminal for succeeding in spaces where people like him were never meant to succeed. But something had shifted. He was no longer just a man who had been ruined. He was a man rebuilding, on his own terms. With Sophie, Clara, and Ivy by his side, he launched a foundation to lift other entrepreneurs who faced the same walls he had once slammed into. Each new success story became another crack in a system built to keep them out. And yet, Jordan knew his story wasn't rare. For everyone like him who fought back and won, there were countless others whose voices were silenced, whose dreams were buried under the weight of power, money, and prejudice. His life had been changed by one choice: to stop for a stranger on a dark, rainy road. But the truth is, it shouldn't take a miracle partnership to get justice. Because this isn't just about one businessman and one billionaire. It's about the cost of letting injustice hide behind closed doors. So the question is, when the next story like this unfolds, will we watch from a distance? Or will we stand in the rain and open the door? What do you think? Was Jordan's fight for justice a rare victory, or just the start of a much bigger battle? Share your thoughts in the comments, and let's keep this conversation going. If you want more powerful stories like this, make sure to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss the next one.